You train for a long enough time, and you start to wonder, have I reached my limit? Is this everything I can be? Will my calves never grow? Perhaps this isn't the end, but a new beginning.
What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video. I hope you're doing well. This is it. This is the moment right here, because this is the start of the new series I've been waiting a long time to talk about, The Ascent, where your boy, the Surf Clam, gets truly bigger, stronger, and eventually leaner than ever before. This is my biggest undertaking when it comes to fitness of the last decade, easily, because I'm going to be more ambitious than ever before. Your boy, he's finally bulking up to the mythical 200 pounds. I have not been over 190 pounds in over 4 years. I'm going to break down how truly different this time it's going to be and why. You see, there's been a lot of different things. I made a few videos recently, what's been going on with my training, or how I've just been busy with business endeavors, to be truly honest. And in order to make the next level of progress, you really need that level of dedication. And I was not able to give that. I also was dealing with a little bit of an elbow situation. We're waiting for that to heal up. And I have these goals, you see. And sometimes those goals, when you want them bad enough, they'll just linger in the back of your mind. They're like burning embers of a flame that once was, that you're just letting them slowly over time grow. And it's already been 10 weeks. I'm 10 weeks into this thing. I saved you the boring trip of watching like the initial comeback portion. I'm gonna explain exactly what's going to happen and what I'll be doing different this time in order to achieve my goal. So I said getting bigger and stronger, and we're going to approach things in a pretty unique way. Normally when I have a goal, it's like 3 to 5 months of planning, right? I wanna hit a squat PR. So that means it's 12, a 16-week block, something like that. It's usually more short term, but we're really thinking long term here. The last 4 years, I've been holding around 180 to about 185 pounds maximum. I was gaining after I cut in 2019. I was 179, 78 pounds. I went up to 184 of largely honestly muscles, a good recomp going on over time as I was gaining weight. And I got stronger, right? So I squatted on the high bar 510, the overhead press I added 15 pounds in about a year. The movements I wanted to get better at, I got better at. But here's the thing, right now, currently, I'm Canadian. We could take a look at the national records, we could take a look at the competitors, and in Canada, in my weight class, I would finish in the top 10. And that's good, like I would love to do that. I think eventually I do have the goal of competing because I do like that objective standard to tether what I did. Okay, I did it at comp standard, there you go. So I'm competitive at something. But at the same time, this is the lesson, and there's a lesson in every single video. You can't let being good stop you from being great. I kind of maxed out. I was in 2021, 184, 185, realistically, honestly, around 11 or 12% body fat. I was maxing out that weight class. I also wanted to compete in strongman, and the strongman weight class I do best at is 175. Now, they got 24-hour weigh-ins, so I have a little bit more wiggle room, but that's like the theoretical ceiling of what I could weigh. So I had to make a choice, try and get a little bit stronger in that place, what I could do, try and compete at 83, or reach into the unknown, continue the bulk a little bit, get even more yakety yak, and let's just see what happens. And folks, I'm deciding to do the latter. Now, there's a few different reasons behind that. The first is that, being perfectly transparent, the elbow is a lot better. I had a little bit of an acute elbow issue. It seems like it's osteochondritis dissecans, like a little bone spur, a little bone chip inside the elbow. It's a lot better right now, but being completely realistic, I love the overhead press. I overhead pressed, what was it, 240 at 180. I don't think right now I have enough juice in order to get a new overhead press PR. I'm still working on this. I'm now able to do all the things I want to do, so train my arms, train the back, so on and so forth. But from a pure strength perspective, right now is not the optimal time. So if it's not the optimal time, but I can get the requisite volume in order to get bigger, why not get bigger right now? And let's be very honest right here. If we really and truly assess my physique, there's something going on between, below the waist and then above the knee that needs some work. And yes, it's the quads, it's the hamstrings, it's the glutes. I'd say I have a little bit more of an upper body, like the chest and the back, versus the lower body, even compared to other people that are strength enthusiasts. And that's a lot of room to grow. So we need to take a look at things pragmatically, but we also need to be relentless. And that's the shift in the goal. I want to maximize the amount of muscle, this is the new goal, that I build during this off season. And it's an extended off season. Normally we'd have 3 months, 4 months, or whatever the case might be. For myself right now, we're taking over a year. When I said I'm bulking, I have not been around 200 pounds in almost a decade. This is the largest weight gain I will have experienced in over a decade. That's immediately one of the differences. But also what I'll be doing, I'm gaining about 1.5 pounds per month. I'm 10 weeks in, I've gone from about 181.6 or whatever the DEXA scan at Texas Tech was. Now I'm weighing high 185s towards 186 pounds. So we're gaining about already 5 pounds, but we're gaining 1.5 pounds every single month, all the way till at least June. So I should be around 200 pounds. So really this goal, and that's why we're calling it the ascent, the physical portion of what we're doing is a representation of what we're doing behind the scenes in terms of self-care, which I do think is important. Things like, eating properly, sleeping, stress management. In order for me to achieve the goals I want, these lifting goals, I need to get the rest of my life in order, which has been a long time coming. So it's very positive. Myself, the stress, the sleep, getting over 5 hours of sleep, it's been monumental. Already in the 10 weeks, now I'm deadlifting twice a week. We're squatting. I'm gonna explain some of the differences of what I'm doing. And then the bench press. And I don't wake up sore and achy. Like last year I had that video about like the comebacker starting over. And I was very ambitious, but I didn't have any of those things sorted. So I'd do a session and the session itself would feel great. And I'd wake up not like a muscular soreness, but like, oh shit, am I getting older soreness? And I thought that might be the case. But then it turns out, of course, that if you have numerous different factors of stress in your life and you're not eating properly, you're not just recovering, that's the larger issue. And so now it feels a lot better than ever before. So we're dealing with the things that were holding us back. We're taking a new approach. And most importantly, we're tethering it to goals and standards that we can measure. And here's what I mean. Here's one of the differences. I think in the natural community, one of the issues currently, understandably so, from the hypertrophy standpoint, is self-reported metrics. Meaning that, okay, I increased my arm size. I'm gonna show you my tape measurement of how much bigger my arms are getting, and you gotta believe me. It's like when guys measure something else and they report it in. Well, they found it's not entirely accurate. It's hard because there's that subjective level. Also for the biceps or the thighs, like where are we measuring exactly? So that's tough. It's also hard to measure body fat once you're above the teens. So once you're above like 15, 16% body fat, which most people when they bulk, it's like how much of that new bicep gain is muscle and how much are what we call fat steps, like you gaining more fat in that area. That is why I'm going back to Texas Tech. I'm getting a thorough body comp analysis at the end of this bulk to find out, hey, how much muscle did I build? Because the first phase right here is all about building muscle, particularly in the least sexy area that no one really talks about, the lower body, the legs. Why? Well, that has the biggest engine, the most room to grow, in particular for myself. It's over half of your total muscle in your body, and it's an area that I would say is more neglected for myself. So I'm training my legs now 3 times a week. I'm taking a lot of sets to, or closer I should say, to failure. I'm changing up some of the movements that I do, and we'll talk about tethering certain movements once again. So you have certain movements that you attempt to get stronger at. I'm talking about in repetition, so like your sets of 8, your sets of 10, 12, 15, so on and so forth. But that's exactly what's going on down. I'm going to Texas Tech. I'm going to measure my body fat. So I'm going to find out exactly how much muscle I built from this bulk. And shocker, spoiler, what I should tell you right now, while I am gaining probably around 18 pounds in almost a year, I anticipate true muscle mass, maybe 3 to 5 pounds. And it's like, wait a second, why would you gain all that weight just for 3 to 5 pounds? I think it's because people, in an absurd way almost, overestimate how much muscle they gain when they gain weight. You know, when I measured myself at Texas Tech and I was 13.7% body fat at around 181 pounds, they found, so we do the math, I have a couple dozen pounds of fat, but then people take everything else that's not fat and they call it non-fat mass. It's like, oh, that's good weight gain. But really, we're looking at muscle mass accrued. And for myself, I think I had around 80 total pounds of muscle mass. Now, keep in mind, a sedentary individual will probably have like 40 or 50 at my weight. So really, I've gained like 30 pounds of muscle via lifting. So gaining 5 pounds as an advanced lifter in a year is still truly remarkable, because compared to that 30 pounds that I built, that's still like a 20% gain. And so I think you'll see a visual change, and let's talk about the timeline now, right? So the timeline is the following. I think for the first phase that we're calling it the conviction arc, which lasts basically from September when I started to now, all the way to end of January, I'm going to get back to my previous best form at a higher level body fat. So we have that infamous, or many photos around like 184 where we're looking good, we're looking yucky. I'm going to weigh probably about 188, 189 pounds to look like that. I'll have a little bit more body fat, but I will have the same rough amount of muscle. The arms a little bit due to this elbow, might lag behind a little bit, but the chest, the back, the chest is something I really want to develop again. I was feeling very flat over the last several years. You'll notice it'll be comparable. That's the first phase. Then the second phase will be ascending past that. That's why we're calling it the ascent, where it'll take some time, depending upon your perspective, what you've known about me. You've seen me, like around 180 to maybe 188 pounds many times over the last decade. By the time June rolls around, I'd say give it 10 months. And this is why it's a realistic transformation we're talking about. Right now, we probably look the same. 4 months from now, you'll know some improvement. 8 months from now, you'll be like, oh, all right, I'm starting to see progress. And that's why you have to believe in the bulk. For some people, as soon as they start losing some definition in their body and they start seeing, oh wait, that separation in my shoulder that used to be there before, it's gone, what's going on? I'm no longer motivated. That's not going to be us. We're gonna be steadfast in this pursuit because we're aiming for a higher goal that truly takes a long period of time. So I think that's one of the benefits, quite frankly, of doing a lot of strength training is you reach into that unknown, right? So you'll train for 6 months and you don't know if you're going to hit that new PR. You believe all the work that you're doing will lead to that eventual outcome, but it's not a guarantee. Whereas when it comes to hypertrophy, there's more of that constant assurance, right? Your shirts, you're constantly filling them out a little bit more if you're bulking up. The weight you're using for reps, let's say for 8 or 10 or 12 reps, they should be going up over time. So you have all these good landmarks, right? Whereas for strength, you really are reaching into the unknown. So it's perfectly fine for myself to get huskier, to embrace this bulk over a period of a year in order to look absolutely better 2 years from now, 18 months from now. And that's when we talk about one of the fundamental differences, long-term progress. I posted at the start of the video, and that's why we joke about being so back. So I deadlifted 585. My best deadlift of all time is 600 pounds. And now we're not using strength standards as a proxy to say I'm getting bigger, but as a proxy instead for saying how everything is going in terms of this bulk. So how I'm able to apply effort every other place. My nutrition, making sure I'm in that slight surplus. My sleep, the hypertrophy training, what I'm doing in terms of those reps, how I'm getting after. So I'm applying myself, and you could see that in that deadlift because that's an easier, more clear, substantial way than saying, hey man, I started doing the incline press at the start of this block and I was doing 90 kgs for 12 repetitions. Well, recently I just hit 105, so 231 pounds instead, and I did that for 10. So that is clearly an improvement. That's easier to say, oh, 585, close to my all-time best. Yeah, we're certainly circling there, as opposed to giving some of the hypertrophy numbers. But make no mistake, while I said that, I'd say 80% of my training right now, think of a bucket right here, 80% of it is more oriented towards hypertrophy. That means taking sets a little closer to failure, movements that are more conducive towards my goal. So let's say for the chest development, I pick certain movements and I try and get better at them, better in terms of repetition. So that incline bench press, I love it. Low incline bench press for the chest, huge fan of it. The overhead press, as it relates to shoulder growth. Remember, movements are merely tools. It's how you utilize them that will ultimately determine their utility. So the overhead press, if I'm training for a single, for a 1 rep max, it looks a lot different than for hypertrophy, right? Even in terms of the tempo, the rep ranges, doing sets of 8, 10, 12, so on and so forth. So I have all these different exercises now. The belt squat for myself, so no axial loading on the spine, which is great. So it's lower back friendly for myself, really low in the quads on that one. High repetition front squats we're doing. So I will explain in a future video some of the changes as it relates to my training, but a lot of it being entirely truthful, that 2021 missed arc that we had due to the pandemic, but where I was training very hard and clearly there's a lot of progress. You saw the strength numbers and the physique. I was already pursuing some of these qualities, like, in terms of getting better at repetitions. But now I'll be able to frame it with this series because we're uploading 1 time per month, once every 4 weeks, everything that's going on. So you'll see familiar movements, but there are subtle differences, and those subtle differences will make a dramatic impact over time. So hopefully I explained how I'm approaching this differently, because there are a lot of different changes. I am 10 weeks in. I feel highly motivated. That's why we're calling it the conviction arc. The next episode is actually going to be something cool where it'll be more of a raw workout where I talk about the reasons why I want to do this, what's motivating me, what's changed over time, and how one actually can still get after their goals after all these years of lifting. But this is the video. This is what I wanted to make for a long period of time. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is the beginning of the ascent. If you liked the video, make sure to like the damn video. Ask your comments in the comment section down below, and maybe we'll answer them in that next episode. And we'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next one. Peace.
Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.